All right, so we'll be streaming on YouTube. I will take the YouTube link and post it to our Facebook page and tag your Facebook page, and promote it that way.
Awesome.
And then, yeah, we'll get started from there. Oh, sweet. It didn't blow my eardrums out this time. That's good. All right. Boom, 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 boom. So are you still working through all this, or are you full-time musician right now?
I'm still working. Yeah, I've kind of just got back into music this year. Sort of that's one positive thing that this whole kind of COVID situation got me into is that more positive and more kind of, creative, and got me back into music after being away for so long.
I gotcha. Actually, I had a old neighbor that when I was growing up, because he was a few years older than me, when I was growing up, he was the kid on the block that had the band. And this year, just during COVID, he started going back in and playing music. So
yeah, because it's just, for me, my kind of work before was more kind of communications and marketing and stuff, and that, and leisure and entertainment. So that was all kind of wiped out. So it allowed me to, focus on the creative energy. And so I started writing and recording again, and it's been real fun. I've been enjoying it thus far.
nice. So you do marketing as your regular?
Yeah. So marketing and communication. So I kind of have a university degree that I've had for years. When I left school, I wanted to be a singer, and Mum was like, "You're not going to go to Sydney in Australia and follow music unless you have a university degree under your belt." So I went to James Cook University in Townsville in North Queensland and have a marketing and communications and tourism degree. Which I sort of never used it until later on in my life, which I'm thankful for, but yeah.
Gotcha. So you're originally from Australia, or are you originally from the UK and then?
No, I'm Australian originally. I was born and raised in a very, very small cane farming community in North Queensland called Halifax.
Okay.
So small, in fact, that there was only 4 kids in my class at school. Yeah. And there was only, I think, 28 children in the whole entire school.
Oh, wow.
So one teacher would teach, in one classroom, there'd be grade 1s, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then one teacher would teach 20 minutes for grade 1, 20 minutes grade 2, 20 minutes grade 3. So basically, I colored in until I was 10 at school.
Oh,
wow. It was an amazing growing up there. I didn't know any better, and I loved it. It was just the most incredible. We were all very close. Everyone kind of knew each other in the community and town. But it's just a beautiful place. It's about sort of 10 minutes boat ride from the Great Barrier Reef.
Okay.
In Queensland. So yeah, I kind of only been there twice in my life because it was on my doorstep. I just took it for granted. Now I'm living in England, so I kind of really miss it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I grew up in Chicago, and everybody talks about all these great, cool things there are to do downtown. And it's like, yeah, I've done them one or twice, but it wasn't a thing that we did in our spare time, like going to Navy Pier and going to the, all the different things that they have in Chicago. It's like, yeah, we didn't really, like, we did it maybe once, but other than that, we didn't go back. It wasn't a thing that we did like all the time,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But we are live on YouTube.
Awesome.
And so, like I said, we'll do an intro. We'll basically everything that you just talked about, we'll go over again. Okay. And Star Maker, your new single, all that fun stuff.
Perfect.
All right. Awesome. So if you're ready, I'll do the intro and we'll get it going. All right, cool. Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quat, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Kieran Lancini. How's it going today, Kieran?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Excited.
Absolutely. We're really excited to have you here. Rachel said a lot of good things about you. She's the one that originally set this up. So I'm really excited to sit down and get to know you a little bit. So awesome. You got some new music that dropped yesterday, because I know that was the big thing that you wanted us to push. But before we jump into all that fun stuff, tell everybody that maybe isn't really familiar with you a little bit about yourself. What got you into music? Kind of like your origin story, so to speak, if you're into
Origin
comic books.
story. Okay. I'm originally Australian. I was born in a little cane farming town in North Queensland called Halifax. A very, very small kind of place, and there wasn't much to do there. So I was just kind of enthralled with music and film and TV. And like while all the other kids were out playing, I'd be just listening to my brothers and my mum's records and just being just addicted to TV. And I've always sort of had a dream of being in a kind of a job in the entertainment industry when I was growing up. But I mean, it was such a small town where I grew up. There was only 4 of us in my class and 28 kids in my whole school. So it was quite an unbelievable kind of upbringing. And looking back at it now, so amazing. So I've always, ever since very young, wanted to perform. And because I grew up in the 80s, lip syncing was a big thing in Australia. So little young kids would it was kind of like after the voguing kind of thing, lip syncing with little young kids would just do it at the town festivals and stuff. So I started doing that, and a lady who saw me asked me to sing in this local competition. It was called Maraca, and we were called Maracarettes. And Maraca is an Aboriginal word for concert, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd do that every year. And then I started singing and getting my kind of sort of groundwork of performing in these Maraca concerts, which was so much fun. And then, it just sort of developed into going to a Stedfords when I was a kid, and then discovered country music. And when I was 16, because there was a lot of country music festivals going on in Australia, one every couple of months or one every month, actually, all around the country. And my folks, bless them, would drive me around, and we'd go to these amazing sort of little communities that are hosting these festivals and perform. And it was a great kind of stomping ground, a great learning ground for me again, to learning to play with the band and learning to perform. And that's how it all got started. And then I wanted to have a career in country music, and I wanted to really push it. And I think I finished school, and I was like, I'm going to move to Sydney, to pursue the career. And Mum's like, you're not going unless you get a university degree. So I went off to university for a couple of years, still doing the country music festivals and still performing. And then, as soon as I got the last day I handed in my last assessment, the following day I was driving down to Sydney for the first time to kind of pursue this dream of music. And then if you're a dedicated and you want a career in country music in Australia, Star Maker is the competition that you need to enter.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a yearly competition. It's still running. It's been running for now 42 years, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of like winners of Star Maker. It kind of thrusts you into the national spotlight, and you kind of, in the front of the industry for industry people to know you. So it's an amazing launch pad. So I applied for it, not thinking anything of it, and I got through the first rounds. And then, it was one of the most incredible experiences. And I remember it was like 21, I think, and ended up winning it. And previous winners included like Keith Urban, Lee Kernaghan, Gina Jeffries, and a few of these other kind of amazing Australian country artists that are doing really well now. So that was like 18 years ago though. Yeah. And part of that, you win a record deal, you win a tour, you win a car, you kind of, travel around and meet these amazing people. And it was such an amazing experience.
Yeah. Well, so since you've kind of went through that, because we've had a few different people that have like competed on like The Voice, American Idol, like all those different types of shows, but never really made it that far. Since you actually won, and it's been a while, so I'm sure you're a little bit more free to talk about certain things. What was some of the, I don't want to say misconceptions, or what were some of the realities about going on Star Maker as far as like obligations? Like, did you mention that you won like a record deal, and
so it was I mean, looking back at it, I mean, this was before social media. This was 2002. I mean, we had the internet, but it was that modem dial-up kind of thing. So it was it's a bit different back then. So the prize was you do 2 singles with ABC Universal Music. You would do a film clip. It would be a pre-booked kind of experience or tours around the country at different kind of festivals. Yeah, I mean, it was me as coming. I was living in Sydney for just 6 months, and when I won Star Maker, so I remember I was still very kind of young, very very young,
Yeah.
very kind of a very immature person living in a big city, and it was kind of that made me grow up very very fast.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was, taking advice from management. I had management for the first time. That was a weird experience. So, I mean, there's a saying that if I knew then what I know now,
Yeah.
I would have done a lot of things differently.
Okay.
But then
Would
again,
you
you've got to
do you think you were too young for Star Maker? I'm assuming you were probably
I was 21.
18,
Yeah, no,
21.
I was 21 at that time. Um, Probably.
Okay.
Maybe it was, yeah. But it was a case of, for me, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
You've got these amazing opportunities. If you don't bite the bullet and just run with it, and if you start, questioning yourself and you start worrying about this and that and the other, you're not going to succeed. So I kind of went balls deep in and was just like, let's just have fun with this.
Yeah.
And
So
sometimes are really tough. It was a very lonely experience. I
Yeah.
remember that. But then on the Pop Plus side, I was, traveling around the country and meeting these incredible people and these amazing experiences. Well, like, Kieran, you can get to write with this artist, and you now booked to record on here, and it's like, okay, this is pretty amazing. And again, someone who grew up in a very small cane farming community in Australia, it was an incredible eye-opening experience. That, yeah, I think I look back at it as one of the most fondest times of my life. Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like maybe you were too young, maybe you weren't quite ready for everything that was about to get thrown at you, but if had you waited another year or two, you may not have won. Like
Exactly, totally.
So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it was right time, right moment. Maybe you weren't 100% mentally prepared with everything that was about to happen. Do you think it ultimately led to why you left music for so long, or was that a completely different reason?
I mean, I put my heart and soul into that. There was like 4 years after Star Maker where I was like, writing, recording, and no, it was about 3 years. And we were in development with the potential record deal, and the singles did well. I went to number 4 in Australia at my first one, and number 7. So I had number 4 and number 7. And then it was just, that was that time I got dropped from the label, and I was like, okay, I'm still going to pursue this as an independent artist then. And then I had this inkling to always travel. So I was 26, and I was like, if I don't go to Europe now and do the backpacker experience kind of thing, I won't, because I know I'll just, keep pushing. And so I needed to take some time out after, investing my heart and soul into music for so many years. And so I kind of left, and I'm just going to go for a 6-month holiday to recharge the batteries and head back with a fresh new perspective, fresh new stories to write, all that kind of, development and growth for myself.
Yeah.
So I landed in England, and I never left. So I've been here 14 years.
Oh.
Much to my parents' disgust and dismay. So life just got in the way, I suppose. I think that, yeah. And then I had a whole different career over here in terms of the corporate life. And I kind of thought music was behind me kind of thing. So it wasn't until Star Maker tracked me down, and they're like, Kieran, we want to get you back for the 40th anniversary show. Because they're inviting all the winners back. And I was like, oh, God, I hadn't sung, like, I used to sing over here, but when I had a few bottles of wine in me and I did karaoke, pretended to be Bon Jovi kind of thing. But going back and doing something like that after so long away, I was terrified, nervous. I was like, I may as well. I hadn't been home to see my folks for a couple of years, so I could kill 2 birds with one stone. Go back and see them, and then go to Sydney and do the show, and then come back to London. And I remember that so vividly, just waiting to go on stage. My mouth was dry, I was trembling. I'm like, Kieran, what the hell are you doing? Like, literally, what are you doing? But then everyone, after the performance, everyone was had these amazing comments and amazing support. And that kind of, lit the fire in me to dip my little toes back in and try my hand. And I think then I kind of planned last year about what I was going to do. And then COVID happened. I'm like, well, there's no better time now than to do it. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's kind of been a blessing in disguise kind of thing.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so, well, you've already kind of hinted at this one. You just released a new single yesterday.
Yeah.
I Need You, which that's a Leanne Rhymes cover, correct?
No, I
No.
love that Leanne Rhymes song though. That's a
Okay.
great one. No, this one I wrote myself. I've been quite fortunate to write all the songs I've released so far, which is I've always wanted to do. I never saw myself as a songwriter, but yet
Mm.
every kind of song I've released is kind of one that I've written with either co-writes. This one has actually got a funny story.
Okay.
When I won Star Maker, my manager at the time, who was also Keith Urban's manager, set me up with this guy called Phil Barton. He was living in Sydney, kind of guy around my age. So we used to meet each other like every couple of days and write songs, and that became like we meet each other 4 days a week, and we just write a couple of songs a day. And I Need You was one of them. And it wasn't until like, and now Phil lives in Nashville and he's written #1 hits for like Lee Bryce, and he's written for Sarah Evans and Dustin Lynch. He's killing it over there. And then when I was home for the 20th anniversary, 40th anniversary show, Mum's like, Kieran, can you go into your old room and just throw all those crap boxes full of all that I had old cassettes and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Just get rid of everything. So I found this box of CDs of all the songs that Phil and I wrote. And at that point, I hadn't released anything. I hadn't even thought about, going back into music. So I was like, if I ever release anything, there's a crackers on here. There's some good songs on here.
yeah.
And yeah, and I Need You was one of them. So the song that was released yesterday was written 14 years ago,
Okay.
over 15 years ago. And it still resonates today, and I still love it. And I'm really excited that it's finally out there after been so long been hidden in the cupboard.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So you went back home and what you were looking through old cassettes and CDs
Yeah.
and like vinyls. What's crazy about all that is other than the CDs, because the CDs have never really left, cassettes are starting to come back. They're as a
I'm
like a
buying them again. I'm buying them from eBay cassettes again. Like I had cassettes that I threw away. I'm buying again. I'm
yeah.
an idiot.
What and that's the crazy thing is like the cassettes that you're buying is the stuff is just leftover stock that they stopped producing back in I don't know, probably early 2000s,
Yeah,
somewhere in there. And it's like you're not buying anything that's freshly produced, so you don't even know if what you're buying is going to work because
exactly.
it's been sitting around for 15 years.
And do you know what I'm also getting into my VHSs as well.
Yeah.
I just love, on a Saturday night, if I'm not doing anything, whacking on an old horror VHS and watching the lines flicker. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm a nostalgia kid through and through. So
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah.
It's just so funny because it's like I first learned that cassettes were making a comeback through the like the punk scene, because that's what they were doing is they'd get like one and then it's easy for them to duplicate the cassettes on their own. And so that's what they're kind of doing. And it's like, yeah, but with how expensive blank cassettes are, it's almost cheaper and easier just to do CDs
Yeah.
and boom, you're good. Unless you want to be edgy or whatever. And it's like,
A lot of pop stars are, releasing stuff now on cassettes. And I think Kylie Minogue, who is an Australian, and that she's released, I think her last couple of albums she's released on cassette, and they've just been selling out. People are just buying them, maybe just for the coffee table. They
yeah,
probably don't have cassette players. It's probably just have a cool coffee table effect that they can just have it on display. Oh yeah, that's a cassette. Like, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting times. I wonder if they're going to bring back mini discs.
uh, I've never was really into the mini discs. Like
Yeah,
I
neither was
remember
mine.
one time my dad had signed up for something and we got a free like computer game and it came on a mini disc and I had no idea what to do with it. So yeah,
If
no,
mini disc passed me by as well, yeah.
yeah. But so no, that's cool. So this isn't your first single you've released.
No, this is my
Well, not
second
or
one.
since your comeback, right? You've
Yeah, I've
released a
released
few.
one in May called The Reason.
Mhm.
And that was interesting as well because I'm still very good friends with a lot of artists who I met in my country music days in the first part one of my career in the early 2000s. And one of those people was an amazing singer and songwriter called Tamara Stewart, who now lives in the US, in Nashville. And she was over doing a tour of her album, The Truth, the Music and Me. And she had a few days off and she came to stay with me in my house. And we, cracked open a bottle of wine. And I told her this story that my auntie told me when I was home back in Australia for that short stint for the Star Maker anniversary. And my auntie told me that my great-grandparents, who were from Aberfeldy in Scotland, flipped a coin. Heads was Australia or tails is Canada. So thankfully heads won, otherwise I wouldn't be here, kind of thing. So I told her this story, and I was sort of saying, I'm thankful that I inherited that adventurous spirit from my ancestors, kind of thing. For me, as a 26-year-old, moving to England, not knowing anyone and kind of starting a new life in that kind of aspect. So I kind of felt like I inherited that, and I was proud of that. So we ended up writing this song called The Reason, which is basically like my autobiography in song thus far. And we wrote it in like 40 minutes. I had, I think by that time, a bottle of wine, so I was kind of merry and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't think anything of it. And then she went back to Nashville and she went to record her another project, and she had all the musicians there, all the amazing Nashville session musicians. And I just sort of said to her on text, I was like, if I just send you some cash, can you just lay down The Reason with all the musicians that you've got there? And she's like, yeah, sure, no problems. So it was recorded in Nashville. Then I did the vocals over here in the UK.
Yeah.
And it worked beautifully, and I released it. It sounded great. And I was like, let's just throw it out there. I'll throw it to the wall and see if it sticks, kind of thing. Because it had been 18 years at that time since my first Star Maker singles, and then The Reason. So I was like, you know what, let's just put it out there. If no one hears it, fine. Just as long as my mum can hear it on Alexa in Australia, absolutely fine. So yeah, but we put it out, and I was just astounded. It like went to number 2 here in the UK. It went to, I think, top 20 in Australia.
Oh, wow.
I was like, whoa. And everyone's going, Hugh, what are you going to do next? I'm like, I have no idea. And that's where I was like, okay, think back. What songs can I do? And that's when the I Need You clicked into my head, and I called Phil up in Nashville. I was like, dude, do you remember that song we wrote, All I Need You? He's like, oh my God, yeah. I said, I think I might release it as the second one. He's like, do it. So he's been helping me produce it from Nashville. I'll be doing all the kind of stuff over here and sending it over to him over there. And it's like, oh, do this. So it's the first, I'm so proud of it, but I'm just, so thankful it's out. I'm excited. And, yesterday was so cool. It like topped number 8 here in the UK yesterday. So yeah, and everyone's sending me really amazing messages about it. And I did my first video for it, for I Need You. So yeah.
We're gonna get into the music video, because I have an interesting perspective on it, like, because that's what I do. Like that's I don't make music videos as much, but I do like video production. Kind of like you, I work in the marketing realm. I work for a TV station and make like commercials and stuff like that. So so let's go ahead and jump into the music video for I Need You. It's a really cool video. I'm always a fan of black and white videos just because it's so different than a lot of other music videos. Did you shoot that on like real film, or did you shoot it on a digital camera? It looked like it had a texture of a real film camera.
That's what we wanted. The director, he's produced this thing. The reason why I got in touch with these guys is I saw a short film of theirs called My Other Suit is Human. And it's now doing the festival circuit in the US and over here, and it's going to win so many awards, and it has won so many awards. It's just phenomenal. And I reached out because I wanted something a little bit different for this song. And I sort of said I want it to look classic. And then we started chatting, and he was like, I said, I definitely want it black and white, because I think that, like you said, black and white things are quite cool. Yeah. But then he started talking about more kind of Cold War era black and white films and the graininess and all that stuff. And I'm like, this sounds amazing. And I said, I've only got one caveat, is that I really don't want to be in it. And so we did he's like, you have to, it's your music video. So we did a compromise. I play a security guard at the very, very beginning. Okay. So I'm the person that kind of locks up the place, and then sort of everything comes to life in that kind of aspect. But I'm really, and I kind of wanted it to look like a short film and not kind of a music video, hence why it's nearly like 6 minutes long. But and it's been every time I see it, I'm just so proud of it. And
Yeah.
the team did an amazing job. And it was a big crew. We shot it on a very cold and wet
Oh,
day.
how long ago did you shoot it?
That was probably about a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah, we did it a month ago, and it took a couple of weeks to get, edited, and the grading was a very important part of the process. So that took
Mhm.
nearly a week to do to get that kind of look in it. And the dancers were incredible. The guy in it is my PT teacher. It's my personal trainer. I was like, dude, just come and be in my video. I'm like, the makeup artist is a mate of mine. Like, come on, I'm just like, let's do some favors here. Come
Yeah.
on. And it's pretty amazing.
On the independent scene, that's kind of what it is like, you've got to make sure you have a bunch of favors in your pocket so that when you cash them in, it's like, okay, cool. And so you can cash them in. I'm not a stranger to that. I've done that several times where it's like, hey, you remember that film that you made me work for 3 weeks straight on 18 hours a day? I need to borrow you for like 2 days. Come on. You owe me a
Yeah,
favor. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, with those guys, I'll do anything for them because it was a very, very long day. We shot it all in one day, and I'm forever indebted to the whole cast and crew for that. It's so exciting, and yeah, like I said, like I'm not even on the cover art of the single. I didn't want to be on the cover art. I didn't want to be in the video because even though it's my song and I wanted it to have a universal appeal, I didn't want to be. I'm proud of it, but I didn't want to have my face to it, if that makes sense. I want people to own it in a way that it's theirs and not me. I want to be the vocal vehicle for it, but not any kind of visual representation of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of watching through it, it was really interesting. Like, I think I kind of missed the reveal. Not to give away the entire video for people that haven't seen it yet, but that kind of reveal where you see what's actually going on between the two characters. I kind of missed it originally, and then I saw like the towards the end, or not towards the end, but I don't want to give the video away, but like I missed the reveal, and then I see the two of them, and I'm like, wait, what just happened? What did I miss? And went back and kind of tried to scrub through, and I was like, oh wait, you've been telling me through the entire video what's going on, and I just happened to miss that one little quick transition. So it was
Yeah,
very
I'm really
crazy.
proud of it. It was different on the day. We had a different kind of storyboard when we filmed it on the day, but in the editing process, we were just like, maybe let's move this a little bit forward and move this, and it told a much different story, and I liked it. It was the team were just incredible. I'm in love with it, actually. I'm very, very excited. It's the first I did a clip for one of my songs in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
But this one pales in comparison to this one, and as an independent artist, you get much more control on direction and everything. So it's kind of my baby.
Yeah, and then you also did like a lyric video or something for The Reason, right? So
Yes.
yeah, what was that? Obviously it was a lyric video, so it wasn't as like production heavy, but was that something that you wanted or were thinking about originally for I Need You, or did you know right off the bat that this one you wanted to do like a proper music video for?
I knew right off the bat that this is going to be a little bit different for The Reason being my first kind of outing from so long. I still wanted a visual representation of the song, and I contacted a mate of mine again, and I was like, "Can you crack this video out for me?" And she's an incredibly talented video. She does lots of corporate videos for companies,
Mm-hmm.
and she's an incredible visual kind of artist as well in her own right. So I contacted her, and I just sent her loads of photos of me videos of me performing me as a kid. Because as I said, The Reason was more of an autobiographical song. So having my kind of life on that video in amongst the lyrics really worked, and I was very happy with it. But yeah, for I Need You, it needed a more kind of cinematic retelling of the song.
Gotcha. And so the idea for the video, is that 100% your idea, or did you kind of turn to some of your friends and say, or like how much input and how much creative impact did you have on the video?
I've always been a huge, like, one of my favorite films of all time is Mannequin from the 80s.
Yep.
And I kind of wanted that vibe on it. And I kind of wanted I wanted the coming to life element of it. And originally, a mate of mine and I were talking about maybe statues sort of coming to life and sort of in a way, but we ended up with the department store or clothing store element of it, but that was with conversation with the director. So it was basically the director and producer that were pretty much, this came up with this initial kind of seed of a concept, and they grew it into what it was what you guys see on screen. And they're the kind of true geniuses behind the video.
Gotcha. And then, so I Need You is out. It's doing really well. What's kind of the plan moving forward? Are you looking at doing like an EP, an LP, or are you kind of like just doing singles? Like what's kind of the plan moving forward?
Next, in another 3 weeks, I've got dance remixes of I Need You that is going to drop.
Okay.
A DJ called Argonaut, who does an amazing kind of dance floor bangers, has somehow, through his genius, created these absolutely amazing remixes for I Need You. Like, because it's a love song, it's a slow song, it's a song about yearning and missing someone and needing them. He's just, I don't know what he's done. He's just a magician. He's just transformed this ballad into like hardcore handbag energy kind of thing. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So I think I'll release those in 3 weeks, along with the radio edit of I Need You, because as I Need You is nearly a 5-minute song as it stands.
Yeah.
So for radio, we cut out 1.5 minutes of it in order for radio stations to play it. Yeah. So I'll release that version on streaming along with the 2 kind of dance remixes in the next couple of weeks. And I would love to do an EP. I would so love to do an EP. I would love to head back to Nashville, work with some cool writers out there, obviously work with Phil again. And we've got some really cool songs in that little box of treasures that I found on my cupboard. There's some kick-ass songs there that, I know are just screaming to see the light of day. So who knows? I mean, kind of need to win the lottery though, don't I?
Well, and right now with everything kind of going on, you're not really going anywhere outside of the UK, really. Like, I mean, I don't know what it's like traveling from like England to like Scotland or like within, but
it's a bit, we're at the moment they've just introduced this whole new tier system. So we're currently in tier 2, which means that we can't mix indoors with households. We can go outside and mix, but there's still a rule of 6. So you're only allowed outdoors with 6 people in bubbles kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think, like, I know Wales are looking at closing the borders. It's just such a strange time. So I probably won't be traveling much. Yeah. I'm thankful I work from home.
Yeah.
So all our offices and all that kind of stuff are closed. So it's just, very odd. Very, very odd.
And what's even weirder is that it's been, like, I don't know about for you on your end, but on my end, I've been working from home for 7 months. Like, we just hit our 7-month mark. And it's like, and there's still like numbers are spiking. It's just like, all right, what's really going on here? Like, this is crazy. So
I try not to watch the news because it's just so depressing. It's just like, I'd rather be so naive, still stay at home, avoid people like the plague, and I don't want to hear of any death tolls. It's just so, because it's so hard to keep positive in this time. And I think in order for me to emotionally and mentally survive it, I just need to be positive. Otherwise, it's gonna be horrendous.
What's been kind of, well, I mean, obviously this is kind of an obvious answer, but I'm going to ask it anyways. What's been keeping you motivated throughout the pandemic?
I've been actually quite busy, obviously, with the single releases. I'm also writing a book, which I've always wanted to do, and I've never had the time to do it. But then somehow, because I'm a contractor, I've picked up these 3 contracts. So I've kind of got 3 jobs doing, and then on top of releasing a single and also writing. So it's kind of been quite busy, and that's kind of kept me motivated. So hopefully next year I want to travel again. I need to go back home because the folks are getting old, and I want to, I'm kind of missing. I was supposed to come to England this year, but that didn't happen. And I wanted to go home for Christmas. Obviously this year as well, that's definitely not going to happen. But it's basically just keeping my mind busy and having those goals, was my 40th this year, and I wanted to release the singles by the time I was 40. I wanted to have the book written by the time I was 40, or in my 40th year. So I'm setting myself these kind of tangible
Mhm.
targets now to do, which I think just keeps me motivated and keeps me going.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's always really what's really interesting right now is that you kind of relaunched your music career during a time that you can't do live shows, and
Yeah.
so it is on that manner. Have you been doing like the virtual shows or been doing like live streams and stuff like that, or you've just been
Yeah, I have been doing a few, but I'm not the greatest player. I play guitar. I play, C, G, D, and E, the country chords and stuff like that.
yeah.
But when I do a live, I've done about 6 or 7 sort of Facebook lives for various songwriter sessions and all that kind of stuff. I just feel more comfortable having someone accompany me with it. Like,
Hmm.
so I've got this amazing mate of mine who's a pianist. He pops in every now and then and then plays for my stuff. And yeah, but I haven't been doing that much. So when we are allowed to go out, and when live music is allowed to happen here in the UK, and when things slowly start getting back to normal, I kind of do want to get out there and create more kind of live shows for myself out there. So it's something that I want to do maybe for next year. It's going to be a little bucket list thing. I was going to do a couple of live shows, need those goals.
Yeah, and try and set up some sort of a tour or figure out what a tour would look like under a
Yeah.
full-time working schedule.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I got back after Australia and doing the Star Maker show, a mate of mine is like, "Why don't you just do one show, a one night thing in London?" I was like, "Okay, fine." So we booked out the Phoenix Theatre, which is in the West End,
Mhm.
and it ended up selling out. I was like, "Okay." Then that was like cool. So I might want to do something like that again, and do something a little bit, yeah, do kind of like like you said, a little bit of a tour, but it kind of feels like it's so far away at the moment. But then again, I've got loads of time to plan for it,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, especially right now, you know.
Yeah.
So you'd mentioned you're saying really busy with work, music, all that fun stuff. What do you do for yourself to kind of escape? Like what are some of the hobbies you do just to kind of relax, reset, you know?
Yeah, like I said, I love films. I love movies. I used to love going to the cinema. Cinemas are still open here, but one chain's closed, and that was one I used to go to. So I need to get out and walk every day, or do a bit of exercise, just for my mental health kind of thing. And I love reading. So they're my kind of 3 things: walking, cinema, and reading is kind of what helps me. And now I'm a little bit older. I love going to bed early, 10 p.m. I'm like, I'm KO'd. I'm knocked out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not like
It,
any kind of wild thing. I have a bottle of wine every now and then. But
it's
yeah.
it's so funny you say that because last night I've had like the craziest week of up till 2 a.m. and then have to be up at 8. So like minimal sleep. And then last night I'm like, all right, I'm done with work at a reasonable hour. I'm gonna go to bed. And so it's like 7 p.m. or whatever. And I was like, oh wait, I want to watch this show really quick that I missed. And then before I know it, it's 11:30 at night. And I'm like, dang it. I didn't go to bed as early as like, cause I was just like, I, I just wanted to like sleep and not have to work. Cause usually when I do these earlier podcasts for me, it's, oh crap, it's 8:15. I need to get up. I have a podcast in 15 minutes. And I wanted to be able to be up at like 6 and be like fully awake and, just kind
Yeah.
of been up for a minute. And then it was 11:15, and then luckily I just by chance woke up at like 7:30 anyways, and I'm like, "All right, cool." I got enough sleep regardless, but it was just like
But
even
it's
when I want to go to bed early, I can't.
and also when I wake up, I'm up. I'm one of those people. As soon as I'm awake, I'm up, and which has been like I've been doing loads of radio interviews in Australia
Mhm.
for the singles, and they're at 1 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah,
2:45 in the morning. So when I'm up for those, because in the time difference from England to Australia, I'm up for there for the rest of the day because I just can't go back to sleep.
yeah,
So that makes my whole working day
yeah.
very tough. It's like the cups of coffee, like, oh.
You know what's funny though is in doing this podcast and kind of working with people from Australia, New Zealand, working with people from the UK. it's so much harder to book the UK artists than it is for the Australian artists, because they're about 15 hours. Or Australia's about 15 hours ahead of me, I think,
Yeah.
depending on what time of year it is. Like depending, Um, and so that's fine because okay, just or let's set it up for the day before on my end if you want to like do something on the day your album releases or whatever, and then it'll be later for me, so it'll be 10, 11 o'clock, but it'll be early afternoon for them. And so it's really not that hard. Like the time difference just kind of lines up. But for the UK, the only time I can ever really do UK artists is in the morning. Otherwise, I have to work all day. And then by the time I get off of work, it's 2 in the morning in the UK. And it's just like, well, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So, and luckily during the pandemic, not a lot of people have been working. So it's like, okay, if you want to do an early morning one, we can't. So,
Yeah.
which is weird because the UK is only like 6 hours ahead of us, whereas Australia is 15, 16, whatever it is. So,
Yeah.
um, no, that's cool. How obviously during the pandemic you haven't been going back that often. How often do you go back to Australia to visit the folks? And
I try to go every maybe 2 to 3 years. Maybe every 4 years. It's just, and they've come over a few times as well to see me, maybe twice. Because I've been over here for 14 years, be 15 in March next year.
mm-hmm.
But
And then when you go, are you there for an extended period of time? You're there for
yeah, amazing. Well, other than the last trip, it's normally been like 2 week holidays because of work, and
yeah.
I had a full time job back then, and could only take certain time off. But when I went to do the Star Maker show, I took 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I left a job and I took 2 months off. I went to Australia and then spent a month and a half in North Queensland, and then 2 weeks in Sydney, and then flew back, and then got other contract work after that. So it was amazing. I needed that time, I think, just to recharge and to regroup. And it was so good to do that at home.
Yeah. I think I'm going to try and do something like that over the Christmas holiday. Because like you, I'm working from home and my parents are going to be down in South Florida for like 6 months. And I'm kind of like, well, I kind of want to come down. And so I'm going to just kind of like bring all my work stuff and just kind of
Yeah.
set up station and just hang out for a few weeks. And I'm just trying to figure out the logistics. Cause like, I mean, right now I do more computer work. Like it's all editing and stuff like that. I don't do a lot of like the actual physical shooting. So it's just kind of like, well, if I take 3 weeks in December and January and just go, is it really going to be that big of a deal?
I mean, a lot of people also are like moving out of London and buying homes in the country and stuff because, like, it's they're thinking this is, it's going to be office work is going to be a thing of the past now. So everyone's kind of just, relocating and stuff and taking time out of the big city. So yeah, do it if you can.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So like, because I know my parents were really mad at me when I moved out to Texas because I spent 4 years in New Mexico away, like far away. I like during those 4 years, I saw my parents maybe 4 times, like just going to Chicago or going to Florida for holiday break. And they were really mad at me when I left. And so then made them a deal and I moved closer to them so instead of being 20 some odd hours away, I was like 4 hours away, far enough that they couldn't just like randomly pop up and say, hey, how you doing? Without like calling me. Um, and so then I kind of left that job because I wasn't really going anywhere. And I was just like, all right, well, there's this job out in Central Texas. They seem like they really are excited to have me there, all that fun stuff. And my dad was pissed at me because he was going through prostate cancer treatment at the time. And my mom was just like, you can't do it, so they were really mad at me. And then once I kind of finally moved out there, they were like, oh, okay, now I get why you're here.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you get it now. So I'm
Nice.
a lot easier to talk to. So, but no, that's really cool. one thing that we like to do on the podcast and Live and Amplified in general is pass on knowledge to younger musicians and try and like if they're getting started in their music career or if they're like ready to take that next step, we like to pass on as much advice as we can. So from your perspective, a career spanning 20 years.
Pretty much, yeah, in intervals.
Yeah, in intervals. Like you started in the early 2000s and then you're restarting now.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice you know, or what's one thing that you know now that you wish you knew back when you first got started?
I think the one word of advice would be you do you do. So basically go in, know yourself, know what where you stand, what you stand for, and don't go changing for anyone. Like that, I think that's the most important thing, to be authentic and to come across as authentic as you can. Don't let anyone bully you into trying to this oh no, that's not right for this sound or this today's sound, that let's do it this way. Oh no, your sounds too pop, or no, it's not country enough. And stick to your guns and you do you, and you'll be successful.
Gotcha. And then from your perspective, since you have a career that started back before social media was kind of a thing, like I'm sure like Friendster and Zanga, like they were like the early platforms. Wait,
Yeah,
2000,
what it was. And I think there was MySpace and all that kind of stuff when I was there as well. Like, I mean, even now, I mean, I have no idea how to use Snapchat. I'm an old man. I'm like, I can just barely use Instagram kind of thing. It's just,
How's social media kind of changed the music business from your perspective?
I see it as a positive
Okay.
thing. I see it as I mean, God, if I had social media was around when I'd StarMake, it would have been amazing, because I would have been able to reach out, and it allows you to have access to a wider audience if you do it right.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the world at your fingertips if you just need to access someone and have the great amazing content, and it's a very exciting time. And I think keeping up with these new trends and everything is vital for any kind of musician. And you basically need to be very skilled. You need to be digitally savvy,
Mm-hmm.
as well as being a musician as well these days.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where they well, and I mean to kind of push back at that, it's one of those things where I think as long as your message is authentic, they'll
Yes,
they'll forgive a lot of like the technical shortcomings or the like, oh, that photo isn't like 100% crisp that you just posted on, what, like whatever the thing is, they'll forgive it if you're being 100% authentic and not trying to be something that you're not, you know.
exactly. Yeah,
So,
yes.
and I
Yeah.
think that's ultimately what fans and musicians connect over is that authenticity. So,
Yeah, I totally agree.
but I don't want to keep you too much longer because it is Saturday afternoon. Right, it's 4 o'clock.
It's going to be coming up to 4 o'clock. Yeah, going to the
Nice.
movie tonight. So yeah,
Nice. What are you going to see?
Saint Maud. It's a horror film.
I've never heard of it.
Oh, yeah, it's like a psychological horror. It's going to be right up my street anyway. I can't wait.
Nice. Well, what's your since we're kind of in the season, what's your favorite horror film?
Ooh, okay. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The
Okay.
Dream Warriors. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite ones.
Okay.
And then I love, Halloween. I love the new Halloween as well, but the old classic Halloweens. And also like the kind of the fun Child's Play
Yeah.
as well.
Um, I've been on a Children of the Corn kick.
Question my judgment, not Malachi. I watched that
Yeah.
recently. He walks behind the row.
I have it right here. It's like
Ah,
I have a stack of every Halloween I pull every horror film that I have, and so like throughout the entire month of October, it's just whenever I have a minute, I throw one of them in, and Children of the Corn is the next movie up on that stack.
incredible. Do you guys watch Hocus Pocus as well? Because that's kind of
Yes,
a,
yeah,
I'm going to watch that this year as well on VHS.
I have it somewhere. I just don't know where it is. Like it, it's got lost in transition when I was moving from Tallahassee Texas, and I remember packing it and I remember putting it away somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So I have all these plastic Rubbermaid bins that like just instead of getting moving boxes, I like using the Rubbermaid bins, and it's in one of these empty Rubbermaid bins, and I just got to find the movie. So,
well, you
but
got a week. You got a week to do it, right? Because it's
yeah.
Saturday,
When I
isn't
was
it?
hoping that I could find it like because I don't have cable. My dad and I split. It's not YouTube TV, but it's something like YouTube TV. And I was hoping that I was going to be able to just find it streaming online somewhere, and it's not popping up anywhere. And I'm like, it's Halloween.
We want you to buy it. I think it's even at the cinemas in the US now. I think so.
Probably,
Yeah,
probably,
and that they
but
need you to buy it.
yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like the movie's been out so long that I've seen it so many times, but it's just like it doesn't feel like Halloween unless I watch it.
Exactly, totally, and yeah, even like when we don't really do Halloween over here, but I still watch it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just one of those things where it's like I know Halloween's not going to be as big of a thing this year because of all the like current things going on. Like I listen to radio shows where they're talking about, are you taking your kids out? All that fun stuff. So
yeah,
I got to kind of watch the movies as I can,
totally.
but no, that's really cool. It's so funny that you brought that movie up because it's like that movie is from the 90s and it's like it's the peak 90s film.
Oh,
But
totally,
yeah,
totally.
so
It's a great watch. I mean, it didn't do well when it was first released, but then now that's got this cult kind of classic
yeah,
legacy. Now
yeah.
it's brilliant. It's amazing.
They were talking about at one point doing not a remake but like a sequel to it.
That would be amazing. I'll
I,
be well in for that. Totally.
it I would be too, but just waiting this long to see it, like I can't see where it would be good. Not I don't want to say good because I would just be concerned that it wouldn't be as good as the first. It would be
Yeah.
like kind of watching some of these remakes that aren't really remakes, they're just kind of continuations. So
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I don't know.
sequels do have that kind of sort of stigma that they aren't as good as the
Mhm.
original. So one of my other favorite films is Grease 2.
Okay.
I love Grease 2 more than Grease 1. So I love a sequel though.
Okay.
I'm a sucker for a
Gotcha.
sequel.
Gotcha. No, that's I I can't say whether I like or hate Grease 2 because it's been a long time since I've watched it. It wasn't the original Grease, so I
Exactly. Yeah,
watched it
everyone says
once
that.
and
It's got the songs in Grease 2 are much they're superior than Grease 1. They're awesome. You got Cool Rider, reproduction. Oh, it's tunes.
okay. I will
Oh,
have to watch because I saw it was on not Netflix, but it was on one of the movie platforms that I watch, and so I'll have to go and give it a check.
yes. Check it out. Check it out.
Awesome. But once again, thank you so much for joining us. Where can everybody find you online? Where can they find your music? All that fun stuff.
Yeah, so music's on all the streaming platforms, your Apple, your Deezers, your Spotify. It's just Kieran Lancini. And on Instagram and Facebook. So Facebook's Kieran Lancini Music and Instagram's at Kieran Lancini. So yeah, and Twitter as well. That's, yeah, just pop along, say hi. But Tom, thank you so much. I've had a great time. And
Yeah,
thanks for the
absolutely.
chat.
Where are you most active on social media? Are you
All
more face
three.
all
I'm
three?
all three. Yeah, yeah. Pretty much check them all the time, all throughout the day. So yeah.
Okay. Awesome. But once again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys later.